Thank you, Kiro. I've been wanting someone to bring up show versus tell for a long time, and now I finally get to monologue at you guys for 20 minutes. I promise I won't do that. I swear I won't. I won't do it. I won't really do it. I'm gonna do it. Okay, so the writing axiom of show, don't tell is often misunderstood. What most people are led to believe is that you always show everything and never tell anything. And that's not the case. You always strive to show everything you can show and then tell the things that cannot be shown. You try to figure out what you can show, and only when there's no other way to show do you tell something. But here's the difference. When most people think of telling, they think of the most crass way of telling, which is saying something like this. Here's a telling example. The bad guys work for the Empire. That's a really crass way of telling something. Okay, don't tell that. Show that the Empire has bad guys. Show them doing bad guy things. That is not the same as saying the Millennium Falcon's in the hangar. That's something you can say, you can tell.
Yeah.
Telling is usually done in dialogue. And it's okay, because at that point, you're showcasing something through a character saying a thing. That's when you tell. You tell when a person is telling someone else a piece of information. You are telling when a narrator says something like, we're talking Star Wars, the crawl at Star Wars. You know, It was the time of rebellion and the Rebel Alliance was trying to blow up the Death Star. You can tell then. Here's when you don't tell. You don't tell anytime you can show the player anything that lets them see it unfold. Don't say that Kefka's crazy. Have Kefka, show Kefka laughing maniacally. Don't tell the player that Kefka's an evil SOB. Show him poisoning Doma. That's the difference. A lot of writers are always thinking that you don't tell at all. Well, right now I'm telling you how to overcome show versus tell. I told you. I told you in dialogue. That's the basics.
That's clever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every other time you want to show, you do want to show. If you're writing just prose, I'm gonna talk about prose for a minute, guys. If you're writing just prose, anytime you feel yourself saying something that you're telling the reader, you the writer telling the reader, figure out a way to show it. Okay, the room was dark. That's you telling the reader. Showing the reader would be Bob reached for the light switch, fumbling about in the inky blackness. You're not saying the room is dark. You're showing how he's fumbling around in the inky blackness.
Mhm.
Telling would be something along the lines of Bob recoiled in fear. That's telling. Showing is Bob clutched his chest and scooted away from the monster, clenching his jaw.
Yeah.
That's the difference. But that's not the same as Bob sighed, glanced over at Shirley. We need to go get more cinnamon buns. He's telling her that. So, when do you tell? You tell when it's dialogue, when it's the narrator. Otherwise, show. That's really the basics. That's really the basics.
Yeah.
In video games, it gets a little different. In video games, you have the visual medium in front of you. So you don't even have to actually say anything. You can just showcase it. Again, Kefka poisoning Doma, Sephiroth stabbing Aerith, Link's approaching Surge and holding out his head and saying Chrono Trigger. All those are shows. Not a single one of them are saying Surge is the anomaly. Or whatever.
Honestly, what I think of tell in video games is the wall of text.
Right. That when people say show don't tell, most of the time they're referring to the crass tell. And you want to avoid those like the plague.
Yeah.
The tells you can get away with are the kind where someone is saying something or the narrator is stating a thing that is putting something directly in front of the player or the reader. Here's some of the way it was explained to me. I remembered it while I was yammering. Anytime the writer is directly talking to the reader you're telling, avoid that. There we go.
That's some pretty good advice.
Yeah. The writer should never speak directly to the reader. Fourth wall breaks aside.
Yeah.
That's the way to avoid it.
All right. Yeah.
We can go over in examples of show versus tell until literally the cows come home. But honestly, at this point, I think we've gone over enough examples. If you have any specific questions, guys, about show versus tell, put them in the comments. And we'll go over each one and kind of give examples when we can, offer guidance. I got a lot of time during the day where I can just answer comments to videos, and I can go, okay, so this circumstance, you'll be telling if you're doing this, but you're showing if you're doing this. I think that will help. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good question from Kiro. Very, very good question. To summarize, show as much as you can, tell through dialogue and narration. All right. If you like what you saw, lay the smack down the like button below, subscribe to our channel, consider supporting us on Patreon, connect with us through Facebook, Twitter, Discord, and we will see you in the next video.
See you next time.